streaming.
Sounds like a sexually transmitted disease.
Yeah.
I didn't give her that.
I think you're right.
Alright, so I think we are streaming.
Oh no, really? Actually, we started a live stream with
Yeah.
No, I haven't gotten a...
sexually transmitted disease.
Okay, hello, Internet.
Hi, Internet. Welcome to... I don't even know what's going to happen today. Everybody's in a weird mood. Let's do it. So, we are here, Knights of the Drunk Watch, in our attempt to count down to Season 8 of Game of Thrones, which we are all super, super hype about. And we hope that you will be here for that with us. We are going to be watching 5 episodes of Game of Thrones from the beginning every week. We're going to be reviewing them, talking about them. We will be announcing the times and dates on Facebook and Twitter, so follow us there. Someone else talk.
Let's do our intro.
Our names?
Oh, and by the way, you are here for... So let's just start with this really quickly. You are here for Game of Thrones episodes 1 through 5 rewatch, which means
Season
spoiler alert. I don't know how much more we can say spoiler alert, because if you have not seen all 7 seasons of Game of Thrones, you will be spoiled.
And read the books.
And possibly read the books. We are focusing on everything. So if you're watching for the first time... Don't come
But if
to
you
us.
have not watched season 1 episodes 1 through 5,
Go do that right now.
Go do that.
Watching us.
You've had 7 years to do so.
Get thee to it. So anyway, so spoilers. Okay.
Let's do our intro.
Yep. I'm Audie.
I'm Travis.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Mark.
I'm Kate.
I'm Crystal.
We are the Knights of the Drunk Watch.
And
now
our talk begins. And
Wow,
Zach's
we
back
also
there.
say
Zach, why
words.
don't you sit over here?
I have nothing to say. I haven't watched anything.
Oh, hot mess. Okay.
Alright.
Editing y'all's videos.
Fair enough. That's fair.
Oh, and we should also mention we're also recording this for a podcast, so if we, describe anything that we're doing, it's because the podcasters know what we're doing.
Oh, yeah. Somebody remembered to do that.
Okay.
And our talking dragon is present. Hopefully we will not need to chuck it at each other.
Okay. Alright, so let's kind of start with a general overview of, having seen the entire series so far, going back to the very beginning and watching episode 1 is almost heartbreaking, and it's also frustrating. Now that you know everything, well, most everything that's going to happen to these characters, you almost just want to start strangling people. Even characters that you loved from the very beginning, you want to be like, don't do that. You're going to die. You're going to get other people killed. You're making a stupid mistake. So that was my general feeling rewatching all of these. It's almost frustrating.
I think for me, what really struck me was, especially having gone back and watching the first episode, was how young everybody was.
Yeah.
Young Arya, young Sansa, but also Theon, Rob, Jon. Everybody was so young, and for me, it made me really think about these actors, especially Maisie Williams and all of them, growing up in this world.
They were children.
All over the
Literally
world.
children when they started.
Maisie Williams was 12 or something ridiculously young. She was
that.
so young.
Bran is the one.
Oh, yeah.
Bran
Bran.
as well. Rickon, literally, but Rickon less because he wasn't as involved. But
Yeah.
to imagine that these actors grew up in this world is really cool to me. I wish I was them, and I hate them.
Very true.
Rough.
So and looking at all these characters where they start, I actually took very little notes for this first episode.
Yeah.
But one of the notes I did take was Theon was a bitch from the start.
I have Theon as
Oh,
insufferable. Theon is insufferable.
And so the thing that I noticed rewatching is my love for people has not come back as strongly as my hate for people. Like Alistair Thorne and Theon, as soon as they're on screen, I'm like, oh, you motherfucker. I just get so angry instantly, as opposed to I need to build up my love again for
Alistair
people.
Thorne, for example, was determined to be
What a
dick
shit! Oh,
from
I hate
the
him.
beginning.
Oh, I hate
Oh, we
him.
totally didn't do an hour and watch our talk begins.
Yeah,
but
we
what-
did.
Yeah, we
we
did.
super did.
Wow.
Wow.
All right, so
Shame.
should we begin with episode 1?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
let's do
do it.
episode
So,
1.
what Mark and Andrew had mentioned, the development of the characters, going on from the beginning, we know them as they are now, about to go into the final season. And just seeing some of the characters, the only note that I have for episode 1 was just simply opening scene. You see the 3 brothers go off north of the wall, and to think about the success of the franchise, and to be an actor and get the very first airtime in the role. You're just kind of like, yes, I'm going to be in Game of Thrones. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's this brand new series, this brand new season, and I'm the character that dies first.
Yeah.
How shitty was that? I mean, to just simply... That's the only
But
note that I have. To be the first death.
That
That's what
opening
he's hired to
scene,
do, though.
yeah, that
Exactly.
opening scene was such an interesting way to start the whole fucking franchise, especially because
It is also the first scene.
It's the first, going back and reading the book, it's almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
The first season actually is.
Yeah.
And my question was, and I guess for those of us who've read the books and will know as we watch 7 seasons, is this the only prologue that we get?
In all the books?
No, you get the Broken Man. There's a few other cold starts. Like cold opens.
Yeah.
That's what
like
they're
all
called.
the books start with these little prologues.
Yeah.
Are you talking about season or episode?
Season.
Season.
There are a couple of, not every season
Swords.
does that, but there are a couple of seasons that do that.
Yeah.
Now, my interesting thought, actually, in that first opening
I also
prologue,
have first prologue, so yeah.
Okay, so was that, I mean, compared to what they ultimately do with the White Walkers, you can tell they didn't, I don't feel that they really had the look of the Walkers quite figured out yet. He was gray, he was colorless, he was almost dark, practically naked.
Phantom.
And yeah, it was this weird phantom look.
Like he was like a woody brown, like he wasn't really white.
Yeah, it was not white at all. And what we see later in the seasons, that is nothing at all what any of the other walkers look like.
Yeah.
I have some things on that have nothing to do with storytelling, but everything to do with what is actually going on. So my notes were on 2 things on that first scene that they introduced us to. The first one, and I think this goes back to some things that happen later in the story. It seems like the White Walkers are leaving one person behind to tell the tale.
Yes.
So they left the guy with the floppy hat alive. That's why he even threw the head at his feet, like go and tell them over the wall.
Go tell him.
So that actually explains to me what happens with Sam at the end of season 2, because you could never understand why they left Sam alive sitting there. You could have just stabbed him, but they were going to attack. So they left one alive. Now, mind you, other people survived that fight.
We can have the discussion later about, but I don't think they saw Sam at that point. But we're not there yet.
He looks right at him.
No. We're not going there yet.
Okay.
We'll discuss that later.
That was for me, and I feel like they're... So what's also interesting in terms of the story is this was the first scout, it seems, that the Night's King sent down. Like, he sent a scout down to kill a bunch of wildlings and to create that spiral shape, which they also do at the Fist of the First Men.
Well,
so
it wasn't the spiral, though. Which
it was
is
like
interesting.
a...
Or it was like,
It was a circle
Like a
with one bisecting
triangle.
line.
Yeah.
So they're leaving, like, symbols behind, which to
Yeah.
me says more than mindless zombie army.
Yeah.
And I have a lot more to discuss about how I don't feel like these are a mindless zombie army. I think they are one brain.
But we can't discuss that yet because they have that one scene, and then the walkers don't show up again for a long time.
Yeah.
Anyway, so all right, so let's
That's
move
all I
on.
had about that.
Let's move on to the introduction of the Starks.
Oh, I wrote, LOL, labeled locations, no such luck now.
Yeah.
I have the note too. They started in the beginning where they had a little title that said Winterfell, King's Landing.
But they give you like a
Little
subtitle too.
description.
Like, this is what you
It's
need
like
to
King's
know
Landing,
about
the
this
capital
place.
of
Yeah.
Westeros.
Nah, fuck
or like
that.
Pentos, across the sea.
No such luck
No.
now.
I
Now
kind
you're
of wish
just
they
like,
would have stuck
And I
with
think
that.
that was just episode 1, too.
no, they still do it a little bit later, but
No, they
I don't
never
think
showed
so.
another
You
don't think
subtitle
so?
for a
No.
I
location
don't think so.
again.
I
Just
went
that
to-
first
I thought it was
episode.
just
Never
the
again.
first
They
episode, that's it.
relied purely on the map in the opening sequence.
anyway,
to
keep
do that.
going. Sorry, that was just
Okay,
my...
so then like the next like big scene, like, and this is kind of like a big thing, was that, you know, everyone was surprised when Ned Stark gets killed and when Robert Baratheon gets killed and stuff.
Spoilers.
They
drink for referencing a future spoiler.
Oh, yeah, let's read for that.
But they
That's
foreshadowed.
not a punishment. We should not do that. I'm just saying we need a reason to drink.
No, they. In the opening chapter, George Martin foreshadowed the death of the direwolves and the stags, like
Yep.
Right.
in that very first scene.
Yeah.
And I
I'm
actually
reading
wrote
notes.
down
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
Not only were they killed, but the stag was eviscerated, and the wolf has an
An
in his
antler.
neck.
Yeah, so they
That's
killed
Braun
each other.
Schwartz,
They
yeah.
brought each
But
other
they also
down.
died in the way. Robert dies eviscerated,
Yeah.
and Ned dies
Yeah.
with his head come off.
Oh.
So
Yeah, but and then
it was like heavy
but
with the foreshadowing.
5
this is
direwolf
burning my
pups
ass.
survive. So I mean, as shocked as we were when the parents die, George Martin said in the beginning, "This is the story of the children. This
And
is
it's
the
interesting
story
'cause
of the younger Starks."
They have that exact line that Ned says, they won't last long without their mother, and then 3 seasons later, everybody lose their mother.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the ones that didn't already lose
Spoiler?
their mother in childbirth.
Oh yeah.
All right, so all right, we need to move on so we can fit all of episode 1 into this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got like 1 minute left in episode 1.
oh Jesus.
Right?
So the entire
I have 2 things to say about episode 1.
I've seen
One's
2
real, just a
episodes.
comment. It has always bugged me throughout the entire series that Catelyn never found out anything about the truth about Jon. And she hates
Yes,
him so
me
much.
When
She hates him
so much.
so
when she's like,
much.
"I want you to leave,"
But to be
Yeah.
fair,
The
like,
bedside goodbye to Bran.
I hated that.
but then like as soon as he like I was questioning that of like why is there such a strong hatred? But I think as soon as John leaves, Ned comes in and she's like, you know, the last time you
And it's
left.
like, "Calm down, honey."
yeah, like
Yeah.
she immediately explains it of
Yeah.
like the last
But-
time you left, you came back with a fucking kid.
Right, but
so
that was also a very long time ago. They had so much hate for someone who had nothing to do with it.
Right.
Anyway, and then my important point is, in case we run out of time for the thing, is I know Mark talks a lot about how taking Tyrion at the Inn of Five Corners or whatever.
Wait, we're not there yet.
No.
He
Yes,
has something
I
else
am.
to say.
It
Go ahead.
starts off everything, but it really comes all the way back to the first episode. The first move that is made in the Game of Thrones is when Lysa sends the note to Catelyn and Jon to say, "Beware the Lannisters,
Yeah.
the king's in trouble," because
Yes.
it's bullshit.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and she said, you know, she and Littlefinger, because she's working with him, set set.
The War of 5 Kings into motion.
Yes, but she sets the Lannisters and the Starks against each
Against
other.
each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, where it all comes from.
I had 2 things as well that I wanted to say. First of all is about Cersei. Watching Cersei in this first season, she's still like the hard woman that we know she's going to become. But it's surprising how loving she is with Jaime. Like, I mean, I know they're fucking at the end or whatever. But, like, if you watch that first scene with the 2 of them together and she's, like, admiring his bravery.
Oh, yeah.
And their, like, weird little flirtation. And,
Wait,
like,
which
because
scene?
she gets
the first scene between her and Jaime when they're at King's
At Jon
Landing over
Arryn's
John Arryn's
Oh,
grave.
God.
Yeah.
so much of Cersei.
Like, she's practically innocent now.
Yeah.
Like, this is the most innocent you'll
and
see.
so much of Cersei is her just being like, I'm over it, I'm out. Like,
Yeah,
just like,
she
you
is
know,
not-
like, as opposed to being like, fuck this, I don't want it.
Until the very end of the
Yeah.
first
Because
episode.
at this point, she as queen is just a crap. What's the word? She's just like
figurehead.
Yeah.
She's not in a position of power yet. I mean, other than just being like the wife, the trophy wife of the king.
Yeah.
She's not in her position of power yet, but she's
Yeah, but
And-
notice how they play off the whole death of John Arryn with what Andrew had said. You know, it's Lysa and Peter who actually do all of this stuff, but it's Cersei and
Innocuous
Jaime
characters.
wondering, you killed him, right? Oh yeah, of course I did. I mean,
Yeah.
look at
right.
me.
It's just they kind of both assume that they were. But let's talk about Jaime. So like the very end of that first episode.
Ugh.
Dick.
What happens? Like,
God.
Jaime
He's in
pushes
love.
a little boy out the window, and we came from that first episode thinking, wow, that is the biggest dick.
Little
No.
did we know.
No, let's say that is the worst dick
Yeah.
in the entire show. And then,
Little did we know.
Yeah.
you
But
know,
really,
sweet
all
summer
Jamie
children.
ever does is out of love, and
Love,
even
yeah.
that first action is done out of love. And he even says it.
the
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
the things I do
love.
for love.
Well,
Like-
I think that's. I'll say more about it a little bit later, but I think that's what sets Jaime up on his hero's journey from villain to hero.
Well, because he had
does
that
such a
line.
despicable thing.
He had that line later when
Are we watching
they
that?
thought that Bran might survive.
What?
He's
Is
like,
somebody
you know,
on the chat?
I'm going back and forth.
No,
but
it's
no
okay.
one's
I'll
there.
go on
watching
it.
it.
Yeah.
that he said, oh, who wants to be a cripple? Give me a good, clean death any day. And it was totally setting up what his story would.
That's the other
become.
thing that I had written. But that's the next episode. We'll talk about that afterwards. The other last thing that I had was in this episode, we get the last look between Bran and Ned. Did you guys catch it?
Rewatching these 5 episodes, I kept wanting to make a drinking game with myself. Drink every time you want to say, and they never saw each other again.
I have a lot about that next episode.
Episode. Well, let's move on now.
Wait, hang on. The only people we didn't touch on was Dany. Because we get her in
her
this
costumes
episode
are the worst in
They're
this
so
episode.
bad. Just nipples.
Every time. All right, I will say this. Every time I have introduced this show to new people, like when I made Ollie sit down and watch it,
for some reason.
and other people, I always said, all right, you're going to watch this first scene with this silver-haired young girl, and you're going to look at her, you're going to roll your eyes and say, ugh, she is the worst, whiniest character ever. And I always tell them, give her time.
Oh, and I have a little thing to say about that because Viserys says the line, when they write the history of my reign, sweet sister, it will begin today. Yeah. That actually applies to Dany.
Yes.
When they write the history of her reign, it began
the day she met Khal Drogo.
I think maybe he's the first one where I instantly was like, oh, I want to cut his fucking head off. Like, just instantly, I was like,
because
oh god, I hate him
the
so
first
much.
thing he does is go up to his sister, take her
Grope
clothes
her.
off,
and molest her.
Yeah.
He cuts
And
her
what's
boobies.
funny, you don't know that's there.
Yeah, but in the book, he's not, like, she's not naked. So it's slightly less creepy.
And we get the first hint of Dany's powers in that scene.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on.
Introduction of Robert Baratheon. You know, we saw him in A Knight's Tale. I was happy to see that character again. And Tyrion Lannister, looking forward, has completely different hair to later seasons.
Oh,
than he
God,
does now.
such bad hair.
But Tyrion Lannister was still the best character that I enjoyed rewatching again.
They even introduce him when Kat and Master Luwin are talking to each other. They say 3 things about Tyrion. They're like, oh, we make sure to have enough candles in his room because he reads a lot. He's lecherous, and he drinks a lot. Those are the 3 things we were told about Tyrion before we ever even meet him.
This was also, all right, another thing about season 1 in general was them kind of figuring out the looks of everyone. Yes, all the Lannisters are supposed to be blonde, so they gave Peter Dinklage this bleach blonde hair.
But only in the pilot. It fixes itself in the second episode.
Also, like, I find it interesting because, and I'm going to be this person apparently, but, like, his description in the book is so vastly different, and I wonder what would have happened if they had given him that ice white like hair.
But you understand where that's coming from.
No,
right?
I do. Yeah, I know.
It's
but
like Targaryen background. Because he also has a different eye too.
Yeah,
he has a
they're
purple
2 different.
See, but as we've learned from
and Targaryens have purple
recent
eyes.
TV shows, when you try and give characters contacts to give them the correct color eyes, it looks weird. It's distracting.
But they are not touching on Tyrion being a Targaryen in the
At
show
all.
at all.
No, not at all.
Nothing.
So,
Nothing about the 3 heads of the
now that
dragon.
we're short of a dragon.
Yeah, like none of that. Thanks for the books.
Drink for being short of a dragon.
Okay.
Okay, episode 2, King's Road.
So all the very first note that I took was slap that bitch Tyrion.
Oh, imp slap!
Slap Joffrey 3 times in a row!
And I love that he goes, I hate the wailing of women, and then he slaps him and he wails like, ah!
Well, and I wrote the note that Joffrey would never win the Game of Thrones.
Oh, never.
And, and later Cersei tries to teach him how to play, and he's just like, no.
My answer to governing the land, I'm just going to double their taxes and force them to give people to my army.
Yeah.
And if they don't agree, I'm going to shut down the government.
Pretty sure that's episode 3.
I have to agree.
Political.
Okay, so I had one big thing about this episode, and this is episode 2 of the first fucking season. This is the episode of final goodbyes.
Right?
Yeah. This is it. Jon and Rob, Jon and Kat, Rob and Ned, Jon and Ned, Arya and her mom.
Not Jon and Ned.
No Sansa. Well, you
Jon,
don't get
Jon
to
and
see
Ned.
it.
Not Rob and Kat. They see each other in episode 3.
Yeah.
Wait,
I didn't say
Jon
Rob and
and
Kat.
Sorry. Yeah.
Jon and Rob.
Yes.
Jon and Kat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rob and Ned.
Yep.
Jon and Ned.
Yep.
Arya and her mom.
No, Arya and Jon.
And Arya and Jon.
Arya and
You don't get to see these things, but they are happening.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know that Arya and Jon have had their final goodbyes yet.
I didn't say Arya and Jon. Yeah, Arya
He
and
just
Jon
said
haven't
that.
had their. You're
well,
right.
Well, no. I
That's
mean, as
why
far
I
as we
didn't-
know, like to this point,
But they're about
in the
to
series,
meet again. Like I didn't.
Are they? Are you sure someone's not going to
specifically-
die
I
before they get
specifically
back?
went with people that died.
Yeah.
I went specifically with people that are
Okay.
for sure dead.
They're never going to see each
But
other again.
you never get a goodbye from Sansa.
No.
Right.
You see no goodbyes with Sansa.
Here's actually I would like to point out. So remember when we all rewatched the episode much later on when Jon and Sansa are reunited? Come on, like we all kind of burst into tears and we're all like. However, did you notice in those first 2 episodes, Jon and Sansa do
Never
not have a single scene together?
They are on screen together when Robert arrives. I did
Yeah.
double check that.
Yes.
But
Well,
that is
and-
it.
but
They
I
never
think-
talk.
For me, I think that's what makes their reunion so much more emotional because you
Yeah.
know, it didn't mean anything to her back then.
To say
now
goodbye.
it means
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So,
All right, so I would like to talk about Sean Bean.
Okay.
I was wondering, especially on this episode, I want to know if George Martin, kind of like J.K. Rowling did with Alan Rickman, if George Martin sat down with Sean Bean and told him who John's real mother was.
Well, D.B. Weiss and Benioff knew,
Well,
so
well,
for sure they played that up.
Yeah.
I think for
Let me
sure
finish
he
my
knew.
sentence.
that's his question.
Well, no. My thing is that rewatching, now that we know who Jon Snow's real parents are,
Yes.
rewatching Sean Bean's performance, you
He
see
for sure knew.
you see these subtle things
Oh, yeah.
in his face
Yeah.
and his eyes every time, like they talk about his bastard, every time Robert talks about the Targaryens and stuff. You see the subtle look in his face where it's almost sympathy
Yeah.
for them. So
He had to have known, or we're just reading way too much into
No,
his
he
like
for
good
sure-
acting.
I mean,
Yeah.
there is proof that
'cause
he did
the,
know.
the creators knew. George Martin told the creators, and they had
Yeah,
a discussion.
And if you know how to tell a story, which I believe these guys do, they would have to whisper
Obvi.
to him, "You're not his dad."
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you know,
But
he-
you can't tell anyone else in the world for 7 years.
But I mean that's the thing. I mean, like, you know, you had mentioned the episode of Goodbyes. You know, when they're sitting at the crossroads, John is about to head off to the wall with his
Yeah.
Uncle Benjen. You know, Ned is about to go south with Rob and the girls. You know, they're sitting there and they're the last ones at the crossroad and they're talking to each other. You know, and you know Ned says, "You are a Stark. You may not be or have my blood.
You may not have
No,
my
you might
name.
Have my name."
Vice versa.
No, vice
The other way.
versa. Vice versa. You may not have my name, but you have my
My
blood.
blood.
Sorry, thank you.
'Cause he
I
has
was
Stark
drunk
blood.
when I wrote this.
As I wrote that down.
Which,
They're like handing it to you at
Well,
that
no,
point.
sorry. You know, you may or you have my blood, if not my name. That's what he
okay.
says.
No.
But you know, we'll talk about your
We're
mom
close
the next
enough.
time
It's
we
fine.
meet.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
But well, sorry, just to finish, you know, we'll
go
talk
ahead.
about your mom when next time we meet. How
And they never see each other again.
much in this entire fucking show is the lack of evidence appalling in the long run. You know, what would have happened if John or if Ned had just told John, "I'm not your dad, but you're actually this person. Go with that into the future."
Go with
you know,
that,
I mean,
yeah.
so many times in this episode, and especially the next episode, the withholding of vital
Well,
information.
but it's
wait. That's
And it creates
that's my point.
the drama.
All right, here because all right, Ned could have easily told him who his parents were, but he knew that John was going to take the black, and when he took the black, he would give up his lands and titles and whatnot. So
Exactly.
I wonder if Ned was intentionally wanting him to go up there, take the black, forsake everything,
Get as far away from Robert as humanly
so
possible.
that by the time John did find out,
He'd be safe.
There would be nothing he could do about it.
He would be unable.
He wouldn't be able to go for the throne because
Yeah.
technically John could make a play for the throne if he knows who he is.
Yeah, see, so
He
it's
is
kind
a
of like he wanted
Targaryen
him to take the
descendant.
black so that he would forsake everything, and he would be literally unable to try to claim the throne.
Well,
Because
but
he's
Kate has
technically
something.
first in line for the throne.
This also goes back into like Ned's big downfall is the assumption of good in
Yes.
people and everything, and his assumption of like, oh, we'll meet again, so I don't need to tell you now.
Right.
And like,
But
and
he's
it-
not
and it's-
stupid. He knows he's going in a dangerous place,
But-
but he doesn't expect to die.
But he doesn't expect to die. But also, we see this again and again with Ned of just like, oh, well, I know what's right. and I
So
know
I'm gonna
what
do that.
should happen.
Blindly,
Yeah.
right.
And I assume other people know that too.
I actually have something to say about that because I feel like the show is using Ned in a really interesting way. They're creating him as this vehicle, like, okay, this is who you've been trained as an audience to follow, and I'm going to show you why in this world, that's no longer going to matter to you. You are going to find that stupid. The honorable person, I will transform you as an audience member from what you've been used to following Aragorn, right? To liking the bad guy, because that's who's making the smart decisions and moving forward in the game, like Survivor.
Well, I don't even know if it's really if the decision was even that complicated. I think he wrote a book where the main character is someone he planned to kill off at the end of the first book, and make you go, "What the fuck just happened?"
No, they killed the heart. They killed the honor of the entire show.
But I think George R.R. Martin said, "I'm going to write a book where the main character dies at the end, and no one's going to know what to do."
No, as a writer, I must disagree. I feel like he is trying to change the way that people have been trained to see these stories to something completely new, and I think Ned is
people are
too much credit. He's written the greatest story of all time.
But also, like, having rewatched
I have the rightness, Dragon.
like other things recently, like Breaking Bad and like Dexter, where I am rooting for a serial killer and a drug dealer. Like, I am rooting for these people, and I want other, like,
Not
I want
in a
the
classic
DEA agent, and I
fantasy
want
setting.
And then Kate,
like,
you get pissed off at the cops because
They're
doing but they're doing their job and they're close to finding the serial killer.
Yeah.
But the serial killer is our hero that we like. So we're like, fuck
Okay.
cops.
And George R.R. Martin didn't create this concept because
No.
what's his face with Buffy wanted to do it with Buffy and he didn't, and then he did it with Angel. Instead.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one very big important note for this episode. Oh my fucking god, naked Jason Momoa drink.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, side note, naked Dani, I mean...
Okay,
good
now
Lord.
you drink.
She is like...
She's always
I mean, she's just revealing it all at the beginning. The only other
They made
person
her
who's
naked
as
a
naked
lot.
as her is the whore Roz.
Yes.
Yeah. The other thing I had was Cersei's arc. This is the episode where Cersei tells her story of the first time she loses her baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how she reacted to all of that and the screaming and the wailing. And I find that really interesting because this is where she began. And then she ended with, well, Tommen's dead. Oh, well, I'm queen now.
Yeah.
Like,
What?
that's where she came from. She started with, my baby died, and I wailed, and I thrashed, and I fought, and I went through hell.
Well, it makes me wonder.
And then you go to, like,
if
she's so corrupted by power.
It makes me wonder then if it's an arc or it was just a game
Absolutely.
for.
Perfect.
But we always knew she, like, loved her children. That was her first defining
She does love her
characteristic.
children.
Yeah.
There's
But
no
then-
doubt about that.
She becomes
I don't
hard
think she
into
cares
it.
about it by the end when Tommen dies. She doesn't even shed a tear for it.
I think you could look at it as really as the hardening, of her heart.
But
Like, the first child she
Like
loses,
Pharaoh.
it's like it's the end of the world. By the time we get to Tommen, she's lost.
She's
Joffrey,
out of
she's
tears.
Lost Priscilla,
Yeah.
and she's just like done.
Yeah.
There's no more.
But also, well, we are so not there yet, but also she just eliminated all of her other enemies, so she's all like, this is my claim to the throne. Right. Wait, but we're not going there right now.
I
Way
was
too
just,
early
We
for
need
that.
to move on to episode.
Yeah,
five.
I got a
Alright,
couple
episode
things.
3.
I also have a
hang
couple
on,
more
Travis,
things.
and
My
Finn.
final thing was just going to be the strong connection with Dani and her eggs, even before their
when
hatch,
he's
she
having
mentioned
sex with her.
And also, Dani, you start to see the appearances of the true dragon. She jumps into the bath in episode 1, when it's incredibly too hot.
Yeah.
But you see her extreme connection, even while she's technically, unagainst her will, but, because of her duty, having sex with Khal Drogo, she finds
So
comfort in the
stupid.
eggs.
So
But,
stupid.
and then as well, the last thing I want to say
Don't
is
get it.
Bran wakes up not when, Bran doesn't wake up for anything except for the first death of
Of the dire
a
wolf.
direwolf.
Yeah.
Which
First
I will
connection
just say-
to one of the other Starks.
And also, like, the dogs are more connected because Summer wakes up when like Lady starts to get in trouble, like when Ned grabs her. That's when Summer wakes up. But then once there's that, like once he kills her, that's when.
And you'll notice
that was Sansa's own fault. You should have stood with your family. That's
and
why
you'll notice all through
Lone Wolf dies in winter.
All through this episode, they do exactly what they're going to be doing for the rest of the show, which is, in this episode, they show you the direwolves being awesome twice. Yeah. First time is saving Bran. Second time is saving Arya from Joffrey. Yeah. Then they whack him at the end. Exactly standard for Game of Thrones. We will make you love somebody.
Oh,
and
and
we'll
poor Nymeria. I fast-forwarded that. I could not watch that scene.
I messaged y'all, I think.
So hard.
I could not watch that scene.
Quick little tidbit about Jaime in this one. He talks to Tyrion and he says... rather than be a cripple, give me a quick, clean death any day. He becomes a cripple later, and I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, we already talked about that.
All right,
okay, I have a few things.
Oh.
We can't. Sorry, we can't.
Go ahead.
First of all, speaking of Jaime, this is the first time we're talking about the rebellion and how they kind of get Jaime on both ends, and it's not fair. It's like they hate him for like Ned hates him for not doing anything about his family being burned. And then he hates him for killing the king, which is what everyone wanted. So it's like, that's not fair.
Everyone wants to call him the Kingslayer, yet at the same time, you all named him the Mad King because he was freaking crazy.
I've got something about that.
No one misses that king. Can you hand me that?
Oh, and the other big thing I had was at the end, Ned Stark says the wolf is of the north. She deserves better than a butcher's blade. Exactly what happens to the wolf of the north, Ned. Yeah. He gets the butcher's blade.
Also, regarding the wolves, it's like Sansa's betrayal of her family is the one that leads to Lady's death. We kind of talked about that. But, of course, the books don't really deal on this, but the one thing to remember is that, depending on how in tune you are, I think every single one of those children is in... maybe Sansa didn't have enough time, but every one of them is connected to their wolf.
Every one of them has a connection.
Because
Bran dies with Summer, basically.
And it's clear from Bran's chapters that Rickon is having dreams too, and then of course Jon. And
Arya is having dreams of Nymeria.
But
later on.
The other big thing, another big move in the game was again sending someone to kill Bran with a blade that would
implicate
Tyrion.
Which
nobody's mentioned the game yet.
Well, they don't actually talk about the Game of Thrones.
But
because
they
the king
do.
is
She
still
does
alive.
mention it later.
Really,
at the season.
The game itself doesn't really come into play until the current king dies.
Yes.
Right.
Which has not happened yet.
Not according to Littlefinger. He's been
Littlefinger's
playing it for
playing
months.
But we don't know that yet. We don't know that yet, so we don't need
we're
to
working with spoilers.
So we don't need to discuss it yet because we need to move on to the next episode.
I am discussing. That's part of the notes I took. Second of all, Baratheon is the worst king ever.
I have that written as well. Robert has been corrupted by King's Landing. That's what.
But he even they mention it later. Like he does it. He likes killing. Like that's what he did.
He's not a leader. He's a conqueror.
Yeah.
But I feel like in some ways that's Dany as well.
It's saying that. Like, there are kings that are good at fighting wars. There are kings that are good at killing or whatnot. But then there are other kings that are only good at ruling but not actually going out and fighting.
And then you have Jon Snow that does everything well.
Yeah. So, all right, no, but... Like, at our time, we need to move on to episode 3.
Yeah. I did also like Robert. There's a war coming, Ned. More like 7 of them.
Yeah.
I don't know what the war will be, but we know it's coming.
There's going to be a lot of it.
No, because that's true. Because, like, they've relatively, other than the Greyjoy Rebellion, like, they've relatively have been at peace for 17 years.
So I guess he's doing something right as leader, but that was all Jon Arryn. Jon Arryn was holding that entire country together.
It's the Hand of the King. The Hand of the King is who actually keeps the peace and actually rules the kingdom. All right, so what's in episode 3?
Season 1, episode 3, Lord Snow.
Oh, fuck. Jon Snow gets to the wall and he realizes that it is not at all what he thought it was.
No. I have one very big note about this that leads to later, and it's about Jaime and the conversation that he's having with Ned in the throne room, and he's like, would you have respected me more if I'd stabbed the king in the belly rather than the back? To me, that takes me back to what happened between Howland Reed and Sir Arthur Dane of the morning. I wonder if Ned's hatred for Jaime was so powerful because of what happened with Sir Arthur Dane.
You know, whatever.
In that fight, Howland stabbed him in the
Well,
back.
I'll say, you know, all right, this episode is about to happen, but it hasn't happened yet. When Bronn is fighting the trial by combat, and she's like, "You didn't fight with honor." And he's like, "No, but he did. I'm alive. He's dead." It's like, all right, people, this is Westeros. It is a rough and brutal world. We can't be like, "Excuse me, sir, I'm going to murder you. Can you please turn around so I can stab you in the front so that people will respect me more?"
Can you get a bottle of wine, please?
Yeah, true. But in the essence of like foreshadowing, I thought it was interesting. You know, this is the first time Jaime ever actually reveals, you know, a bit of his, you know, character arc. You know, he's having that conversation. You know, Rob and what's his face, Arthur? No.
John,
the leader of the, you know, White Guard.
Roderick.
They're having the story of, you know, their first kills. Thank you. They're having the story of their, you know, their first kills. And, you know, it comes up, you know, Jaime mentions the first person was like that person in the woods, but then, you know,
thank you,
later on, you know, they're talking about all the different first kills. And
Zach
then
Baxter of the Zach Baxter channel.
Ned has this conversation with, you know, Jaime, and, you know, they're regarding, you know, oh yeah, the last time I was here, you know, or that,
Drink
you know,
every time
you saw
Travis
me,
says
you know, kill the Mad King. You know, it's a little bit symbolic that, you know, everybody judges me for what I did to the Mad King. You know, when your brother and your father died, you know, these walls and 500 other men stood completely silent. But later on, I killed the Mad King. And then Jaime also reveals, you know, the last words of the Mad King were "burn them all," while he was laughing. You know, I mean, it's
Jaime
one of those
literally
kind of like,
saved the kingdom.
he did save the kingdom, but
That-
he's got the
All the
brunt,
people in
shit
King's
ended.
Landing.
But that moment when they talk about like the last the last words, and it's just like so haunting of what he says is he's just like, he said the same thing he'd been saying forever. Burn them all.
Now, you guys know about the theory about that, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
But
A lot
tell
of
us
people.
again.
Just a quick one. The theory is that the voices the Mad King was hearing.
Oh yes,
Bran.
yes.
All right,
So that's a little
we
stretch.
will discuss that later.
I have one thing. In this episode is the first time Arya starts her list.
Yes, I wrote that down too.
Oh
Yes, she's already making her list.
Bravo to Maisie Williams. Like, the moment that, like, you know, Cersei orders Lady killed, her face just goes, I can't do it.
Yes,
I can't do it like her, but it
she's-
just goes like,
So
you are
murderous.
dead to me. Actually, no, even before that, when, you know, she picks up the sword and Joffrey's on the ground, he's like, no, please don't hurt me.
Yeah, her face.
It's not a look of hate, it's a look of disgust.
And
She's just like,
intention, like-
she's like, you whiny freaking bitch. Like,
How are you going to be my sister's husband and our king?
Yeah.
Like,
and to
ugh.
which Arya says later to Ned, she's like,
How could you let her?
how could you let her marry someone like
Yes,
that?
I got that note. You know, how can you, you know, Dad, oh noble Dad, how can you? you know,
I
let
feel
this
like
injustice
Arya
stand?
is more Ned in that moment than Ned is.
She is so much like her father. That is why I love in these few episodes
like
here
they
where
all-
she has like a close scene.
And that's why she's gonna die in this season.
Shut up. Well, they're all gonna die probably. But I feel like each one of the children has a different facade of Ned. Sansa is the furthest away from Ned.
Sansa is her mother.
Jon is
And
the
they even
closest
say that, yeah.
to Ned.
He is exactly.
He is exactly Ned.
Everyone say hi to Kate Richard.
Hey,
Kate Richard!
Say something about the fucking editor, man. Just fucking say it.
What?
Well, here, one of the things that I've got, you know, to kind of transition, you know, once again, we get that, you know, lack of evidence, you know, for the future being withheld. You know, Jon is at the wall, which, by the way, he gets up there with a fucking elevator.
Yeah.
Or is all of our heads cut off?
Okay, but
just
Jon
scrolled
is
down.
at the wall. He's
Okay.
up top. He's talking with his uncle Benjen, and you know,
Benjen.
You know, Benjen's like, I'm about to go out to, you know, this morning, and Jon's like, you know, I want to come. He's like, you can't come, you know, but I'm better than all the other, you know, the new recruits. And he's like, you're better than none of them, you know, here at the Wall, you know, you get what you deserve when it is deserved.
Right? You are all equals.
Epic foreshadowing, you know, for everything.
And then
you
it's
know.
like, bye, Benjen. We'll see you in 6 seasons.
For like just plot purposes.
Most of you
But
in
Benjen
6
ends the
seasons.
whole thing with, "We'll talk when I get back." Again, the
Again.
lack of
People need
knowledge.
to stop saying that to Jon Snow.
People just need to tell their
One
story.
of the
and
rules.
get it
I'll
out.
be right back.
Yes.
I did find a fun little moment in this season, which was the conversation between Tyrion and G.R. Mormont, and them having a little bit of a bond.
I wrote that down too.
And I think it's interesting only because he winds up
Being
with
kidnapped
Jorah
by his son.
Mormont, and he's the one who tells Jorah that his dad is dead.
Oh,
Yes.
that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's heart-wrenching.
And then also the connection between Jon and Tyrion is really nicely established in this episode.
They develop a mutual friendship.
Yeah.
Right. It seems so random that Tyrion is going to join him just to ride up to the Wall for
He
no
wants to
reason
piss off
other
the
than
edge
to
of the wall.
piss
Yeah.
off the Wall. But
He probably just didn't want to
sets-
ride back with his sister.
Right. But it sets
That's
up
true.
so much in the later seasons that they already have an established connection that they sort of
makes
trust
that
each
moment
other.
so much
But
better.
also we get this, like, we get such an early love of Tyrion because he is just this, the things that we learn about him are he reads, he fucks, he drinks.
And he is considered
and
a
he has a
bastard.
fondness for bastards, cripples, and broken
Broken
things,
things,
which is
yeah.
the next episode
Love
of, like,
that phrase.
you know, he just, he does the best to, like, make sure that everyone knows that they have a strength, whether it is, like, you know, the sword or
Exactly.
whatever their strength
He
is,
is-
Sword
they
or
can
your
fight
mind,
it.
He
Yeah.
is the
Exactly.
Or your
best,
penis.
You know,
the best Lannister.
and
Period.
you know,
Oh,
he shows his
it's not.
advisor skills by, like, you know, talking, you know, when John's getting ganged up by the other guys,
Yeah.
after pretty much smacking them around in the courtyard. You know, it's again that foreshadowing that's, you know, told a little bit later. You know, you deserve what you deserve when it's deserved. You know, Tyrion is helping Jon, you know, see, yeah, you are the noble lord trained from, you know, birth to become.
You were
know,
born
this
in
leader.
a castle.
And look at these guys that are trying to hold you up right now. This dude was,
And-
you know, caught for this. This dude was caught for that. You know,
That guy's
learn
a
from it.
raper.
You know, how do you control them to become your things? And Jon immediately starts to develop those leadership skills, which, you know,
Where he's
later
like, I'm
on,
actually going to give you
realize-
advice on how to fight and train.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And
Which
Jon
makes
later
them
becomes the
loyal
leader.
to him.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
But I do think it's interesting that nope, I lost it. Never mind.
Right.
Someone
We need to
Episode
wrap up
four.
this episode.
Andrew-
in the next
Andrew
one.
hasn't talked
So
yet.
the
Let him
word.
talk.
So I have things to say.
yes.
So first of all, right at the very beginning of the season, we touched on this earlier. Cersei tries to teach Joffrey the game, and he's
Oh.
like, "No, I'll just go in and tax the shit out of him and beat them up." And she's like, "That's not how you do it."
It's so good.
And he doesn't care.
Do you
Second-
think in that moment she kind of gives up on him and is like, fuck, like, I don't know what to do?
I don't think she
I think
does.
she realizes she's trying to teach the
I think
same...
she gives
or
up
she's-
on him episode 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
yeah.
gonna say, yeah, way later.
So we have Bran who's woken up, and old Nan is telling him stories.
Yes.
About,
I have that
Yes.
too, yeah.
The long
Have you got the
night.
quote?
And
Yeah.
so this made me think about how Mark always focuses from many seasons later, where Arya asks, "What's west of Westeros?" Okay, and I start thinking, and Kate may be able to touch on this, being a science teacher, if she does it. I'm trying to think what kind of astronomical thing could exist that might create on a planet that has like various summers that last forever, and
Maybe
It
their
would
world
be the
is
tilt
flat.
of the,
Yeah,
I think it would be the tilt of the
yeah,
axis.
but you know, I mean, 'cause knowing how it works in our world, like we don't need to get the details. My point is, if there's a long night coming, maybe what's west of Westeros is the opposite.
Yeah.
This is the long
The
day.
other side of...
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
So
that's really
as the
interesting.
long night descends, because the White Walkers last came with the long night.
If
So
we assume
as
it's
we
a round
talk
planet.
about how the Night King will win, it's because the survivors go west and they go into the long day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, and what Andrew...
That is
you
my
know,
theory for the end.
To build upon what Andrew said, you know, the old Nan story, you know, Bran's awake, he's sitting in bed, you know, old Nan, you know, my sweet summer child, what do you know about fear? Fear is for the winter when the snows fall 100 feet deep. Fear is for the long night when the sun hides for years. Children are born and live and die all in darkness. This is the time for fear, little Lord. When the White Walkers moved through the woods. Thousands of years ago, there came a night that lasted a generation. Kings froze to death in their castles, same as shepherds in their huts, and women smothered their babies rather than see them starve, and wept and felt their tears freeze on their cheeks. So, is this a story you want? Bran nods. You know, in
that is
darkness,
the story that's coming.
The White Walkers came for the first time. They swept through cities and kingdoms, riding their
This is
dead
what's
horses,
about to happen.
hunting with their packs of pale spiders.
Where are the packs of pale spiders?
Pale spiders are coming!
Where are the pale spiders?
coming!
Where are the pale spiders?
And the last thing I want to kind of just touch on is it's in this episode where I think Jorah Mormont. Is it Jorah?
Yeah.
The bear,
Gior?
the young one.
Gior or
Yeah.
Jorah?
He starts turning towards Danny.
Danny,
Yes.
When he sees Danny stand up to her brother, to the series, in the bamboo.
Yes.
Some great
yes.
Danny
We
stuff.
haven't
in
really
this episode.
discussed her at all, but yes.
I mean, he still reports back on her, but he hasn't completely gone to her side. But that's
It's
where
the
he
wine
first-
that he fully moves over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Once he is given his pardon, surprisingly enough, and the wine happens, that's when he completely turns.
But it's definitely in this scene where he kind of looks at her and he goes, "Yep, yep."
It's his
you-
first
yeah.
boner. His first friend zone boner.
Yeah, he really starts to respect her because finally she's learning that she is a Khaleesi. She's learning the way of the Dothraki.
She's not just a tool.
Yeah, and that she's starting to learn that she does have power, and that she's also accepting the fact that she does not want to see her brother on the throne because he will not have the respect
He's
of the people.
weak.
He is weak.
Oh, yeah,
He's a
100%.
whiny little bitch
And
with
she's starting
a
to,
cheap-ass wig.
I think before this moment, before that, she was like, "Oh, what he says is true and everything, and I just have to accept it." But then she starts to realize, like, "No, you're a little.
That's
a
what
little
some
bitch."
Jason Momoa dick will do for
You know what? No,
That is what some Jason
it
Momoa
began
dick
to
will do
happen
for
the
her.
moment
Drink.
that slave girl taught her how to be a proper lover.
Jason Momoa dick will make everybody
Once
better.
she realized that, sex with him can be enjoyable.
She's so fucking stupid. Whatever.
then she-
Let's move
no,
on.
but she's learning. She's getting better. All right,
Yeah.
what's the next episode
Well,
we need
before
to?
we go to the next episode, just the very last thing, whenever Caitlin does come to King's Landing, Ned and her eventually have this conversation. This is the first time where Littlefinger is really introduced as, really he's kind of playing sides. But Ned says to Caitlin, that temper of yours will get you in trouble.
Oh, I didn't even catch that, and it does literally in the next episode.
And holy crap, does it.
Oh, no.
At
The
the
worst
end of that episode.
The worst part about that scene is, watch
very funny
rewatching
man
it now.
moments.
You know that Littlefinger actually is pulling the strings on there because when Catelyn kept saying, "He is like a little brother to me. He would never harm me." Oh,
Bullshit.
Lord Baelish, you are a great friend. And it's like, Catelyn, wow, do you have any
So
idea
dumb.
what you are doing?
Yeah.
God, I hate
And
this
then little
show.
tiny, obviously the parallel between you're a very funny man and later when Jon Snow, throttles him down in the, don't, if you touch my sister,
Yeah.
I'll kill you.
Mhm.
He does the same, Jon Snow does the same thing to Littlefinger that
That
Ned
Ned
Stark
did.
does. Ned Stark puts his hand around his throat and says, "You're a very funny man." And then later in the catacombs, Jon's like, "If you touch my sister."
I just,
Frickin'
I
Littlefinger.
do love that moment where she pops over the edge. She's like, "Hey, Ned, stop."
Ned! All I know is I'm watching this with great satisfaction, knowing that Littlefinger will be murdered with that exact knife
Drink for
a little
spoiler.
later.
Spoiler. By
I just
Arya.
own that.
By the most badass character in this show.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. We might have fights about
I
that.
actually
but
have
let's go.
no more notes after this.
Me
just,
neither.
like-
I stopped thinking
Oh, good.
Episode 4.
Wait. All right. This might be
What's
the
episode 4? Cripples, Bastards, and Broken Things?
Yeah.
All right. I want to
don't know
talk
the
about.
names.
All right. I don't know if this is
I wrote
in
them
this
down.
episode or not. Or maybe it's episode 5. Whatever. Let's discuss it. Writing wise, adapt. Shush.
Theon's-
Theon's penis is in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah, with Ross.
I couldn't help but point that out because that's not going to
'Cause
be
it
there
gets
for
cut
long.
off.
It's the first one.
That's a 4 or 5. Keep going.
Okay. Well, no, we are in 4 or 5. But, all right. Which are, I want to say, writing-wise, adapting the book into the show. There is one scene that I think is absolutely brilliant writing to put into a show. Is that in the books we never see a single scene between Robert and Cersei, and in the show. Okay, this is probably episode 5, but whatever. After Ned quits as Hand of the King, Robert and Cersei have one single scene together.
I think that's one of the
In
best
his-
scenes in
It's
season
before he
1.
quits,
Oh
but
my gosh,
In
yes.
that same episode.
It's one of the
Yeah.
best seasons.
Yeah, what it
episodes
is,
of season
it's
1.
that, all right, the writer said we need one scene between this husband and wife. They've been married for 17 years.
Yeah.
We need to incorporate their entire relationship into this one scene.
And it's
one failed
perfect.
baby, Rob's actually only child through Cersei.
Yep.
And then you later find out in the show 3 through Cersei's brother.
Well, no, but that has nothing to do with this. I mean, well, they start off talking about the Dothraki versus, what if the Dothraki do come and he wants them killed and stuff?
No, that's all episode 5, but sure.
But then she has this, and she says, there was this moment that I loved you so much, and then... she's like, was there a time that you ever felt that for me? And he just says, no.
Honestly, that actually made me ship them for like 5 seconds.
True.
That scene was so good. It was like a Frank and Claire Underwood.
And especially when one of my favorite moments is they were like, what's keeping the kingdom together? Our marriage.
It's because she is Tywin Lannister's daughter. That's the only reason. Otherwise, Tywin would be up against whatever king was ruling if his daughter was not married.
Right.
But the fact that that was just such a joke that their marriage was strong enough.
Such a joke later on, yeah. But the one thing that Robert does mention, and that I actually kind of like, in the sense of like foreshadowing as far as like the building of things, Robert mentions, what is stronger, 5 armies
or one
army. And you notice throughout the whole series as it continues, it's armies. It's always armies. It's never armies. And what's weird is Joffrey, in his talk with Mom about what should we do, there should be one army like there used to be.
Well,
and that's actually what Dany does over the next 4 seasons.
Is she starts
combines,
creating.
She gains loyalty.
But so does Jon.
Yeah.
Jon also creates one singular army united behind. Yeah. So now you're going to have to unite the 2 fists together to make mega fists.
But what's great about this scene is that everyone at this point dismisses the idea that the Dothraki will ever cross the sea. But this is the problem.
Bitch,
spoiler.
You don't know about dragons.
This is the problem that Cersei is now facing. The Dothraki are literally at her gates.
Right. Yeah, Andrew, did you have stuff?
Well, the dragons don't bring the Dothraki across the sea.
Wait, hold on. I have a disagreement about
that. We're not discussing dragons
on
yet.
The dragons,
yeah, but
what
this
makes
is
them decide
way
to
far
follow.
ahead.
Okay.
We're not to the dragons yet.
We'll discuss that when we get to it.
It's not like they fly them over, okay?
No, but it's the reason they unite.
Okay.
Well, and
Amazon
one of my big
the
notes
stallion who mounted the world.
Dragons and Dothraki horses.
Oh my god.
Okay, go ahead, Andrew.
It's a good about Ned and his character. And because I wrote this down, and then Cersei touches on it when she sizes him up later in the episode 1.4, Cripples, Bastards, and Broken Things, is that Ned knows how to run things, he knows how to solve mysteries, he knows how to follow.
Sherlock Ned!
He's such a detective.
He doesn't know how to play the game.
Agreed.
The first mention of the game.
He knows the game exists, but he doesn't know how to play it.
I think that goes back to what she said.
This goes back to that point of, because his assumption is that people are going to do the right thing.
Face value is what is true.
As opposed to people are going to do the thing that wins the game. And those aren't the same thing.
We're going to have so many more...
He hopes it is.
We are going to have so many more discussions about that next week in the last 5 episodes of this season, as far as Ned playing the game.
Cersei is the one who tells Ned, you were trained to follow, your brother was trained to lead.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
He's just a soldier,
which is a bit of a, from the left hip...
Well, I mean, because he was the second son. He wasn't supposed to, he was supposed to be a soldier.
That's why he was sent to the Eyrie, because he wasn't going to be Lord of Winterfell.
I also wrote that the devil is in the details, and I feel like Ned's research into the Robert's Bastards is mirrored by Sam and Gilly's research into where Gilly discovers the marriage between Rhaegar and...
That's a nice parallel,
Wait, I have one thought on that right there. I just want to say, as a props person, bravo to the props department on this show. Because that freaking tomb that Ned picked up, that with all the houses and lineages of Westeros, he flips...
Hang on. That book is called The Lineages and Histories of the Great Houses of the Seven Kingdoms, with descriptions of many high lords and noble ladies and their children.
And there was a props person that sat down, and you can tell that hand wrote hundreds of pages for a prop that was on screen for a couple of seconds.
You know they did 10 pages and they photocopied.
Yeah, bro.
whatever.
But
It's, no, 'cause
still.
he flips through it, so you can see lots of pages of. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, there.
No,
Bravo to the
was-
props department. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying.
I agree with that.
Word, yeah.
Anyway, I also note that this is where it comes very obvious that everyone has a nemesis. The Starks have the Lannisters, and Pycelle and Varys seem very against each other.
Well, I feel like Littlefinger and Varys are nemesis.
But, at the moment I wrote the note down, it's not till episode 5 that Littlefinger and Varys go at it. But Pycelle and Varys have a moment of I don't know,
They do have a little tip, but I
Pycelle's a
think so
maester.
far in the story, in the first 5 episodes, Pycelle is still just this.
He's
fucking old
totally
idiot.
useless. Like no.
and a
Oh.
pig, but anyway.
Oh, he's useless, but at the same time, he's also a dawdler.
No, he is a great. Okay, I don't like him. I'm not saying I like him, but he is a great player of the game because he has been there for several kings. He is the one who convinced the Mad King to let Lord Tywin into the city.
Oh, that's
before he
true.
sacked
That's
the city.
true.
But
and
also,
he is, the way that we don't really know how he's playing himself yet, but Pycelle is a good player of the game.
Especially because we do see later that thing of he's fucking around with everybody.
Yeah.
He's not an old little man.
I'm so
It's
old.
his excuse to
We see
overhear
that in the
people's
next
conversations.
5 episodes.
Yeah.
Life with Jess, hello. We are also all very excited. That's
Hi.
why we're
That's why we're here. We're gonna be here every
shout
week.
out, I love that this show has just brought in so many different people from other things in history, like Pycelle, especially being, Mr. Donovan from Indiana Jones and...
Oh yeah.
Okay, I also wanted to say we were introduced to Samwell in this episode.
Oh my god!
My
Backstory.
only note about
Well,
that.
he's a broken
My
thing.
only note about that is Lord Tarly deserved to burn.
Yes, I also. That's what I started saying. Oh my god!
Dickon didn't. Everybody agreed that Lord
but-
Tarly deserved a burn,
not
but Dickon.
What about Dickon?
I know, I missed Dickon.
Quick little thing.
Poor
when-
Dickon.
Sorry to jump back. Whenever they're talking about their first kills, Robert's first kill is
fucking
actually
nerds,
some
man.
Tarly person.
Yes.
I don't know whether it's
You know
mentioned
exactly
as
what
a
we're
Tarly
saying.
lord or just some
fucking
Tarly.
It would probably just
Well,
someone
he
in the
says
Tarly
Highborn.
army.
He just mentioned him as being Highborn. So
Uh-huh.
he's
Yeah.
like a brother, but he's a relative.
Exactly. So it's kind of like, is that a little bit of something? Because that was the first one. I was like, oh shit, he killed a Tarly. That was his first kill, in the entire everything. So yeah.
I have a couple of things for
Yes.
episode 4.
Jump
so
in there.
first, it's the first time Bran sees the three-eyed raven.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Very first time. We meet Hodor. Which
Hodor! Oh,
Although,
cried.
because
I cried.
Hodor
I saw
is in
him
the
and I
first
cried.
scene. When Robert arrives, Hodor is in the group. He's right next to
Yeah,
Bran.
that's great, but we don't know who he is.
We don't know who
then.
he is.
No, that's
this
true.
Is when
It's
they
not
go,
till we
"Where's
meet
Hodor?"
actually
And you're like,
I
Hodor.
mean, they knew there was a Hodor, so he was cast and working.
I was like, Hodor,
So,
Hodor,
uh,
Hodor.
I think
Oh,
I think episode 4 establishes a lot of storylines that are about to happen throughout the
Oh, yeah.
season. So Three-Eyed Raven, meeting Sam, and
Yeah, we
Sam
have
and
the
John's
Three-Eyed Ravens
relationship.
first, yeah.
Sam and John's
Sam and
relationship.
John's relationship
yeah.
just like picks up.
I
Really
think
fast.
That
Sam
drives all of the plot line.
I mean,
and
other
plus
than
And we
John,
meet
I
Gendry. Gendry comes in.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, Gendry.
Yes. And we also going off the Sam and John thing, we start to see John not just being powerful or being in charge, but doing
Protecting.
it on purpose. Yeah,
Yeah.
so when he
And
takes
being good
Ghost,
at it, not
when
just...
he takes Ghost to fuck up Rast and be like, no one is touching Sam.
Oh, I love
And
that.
so we have the people who are following John because he's been kind, but we also have the people who are following John because of
they're
his power.
scared,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we get to see all of the aspects that John already
Well,
has.
granted, the ones
episode
that they
4.
scared are the douchebags that are going to go off and
fucking
do
Rast.
terrible things later, but we're not going there yet.
I do feel like we are creating, and obviously it plays out in the newest seasons, we are creating a parallel of the stories of John and Dany as the prince or princesses that were promised. They are both growing into almost equally.
Maybe
they
their
are
child
growing.
is the prince.
Because
that was promised.
this is also the episode
Some people are saying
that Danny has the amazing line of the next time you raise a hand to me will be the last time you have hands.
She grows a pair against
Literally at the exact same time that John grows a pair and threatens Roll or whatever his name is. So they're both coming into their power.
I didn't see those two paired up together.
Continuously
like
as you watch the story, and I think we should keep an eye out for this, is the parallels that come from John.
All right.
Two more things on this. One to kind of just touch on Sir Hugh. I forgot about Sir Hugh.
Oh, Sir Hugh.
That little whiny guy. Excuse me, are you a knight? No. Well, I am.
The
Watch me
Squire
die.
guy?
And then Sir Hugh is
John Aaron Squire that gets killed by the mountain.
That's right.
And the thing is like, what did he do that he then had to be killed to cover it up?
Yeah.
You know? I mean,
It was just that
his reward, and then
he might have known information about how John Aaron died. So.
Well, yeah, but I mean, but he obviously, I feel like he was a loose end, very, very neatly tied up. And then, of course, the end of the episode is when Kat takes Tyrion.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so
and that's the point of no return.
Yeah, that fucking temper, Kat.
And also that
temper.
moment, that scene was so much fun because like I knew what was happening and I was trying to figure out what Sir Roderick Castle's name was and I couldn't fucking remember it. But then Tyrion just being like, "Yeah, you got a lot of friends. What the fuck? Like, why?"
She mentions the Bat of Harrenhal in her big talk about all the different lords and things. Harrenhal's already, ashes and ruins.
No, but there's still
there's
still
men.
people there at the castle.
All right,
but
which brand? Like
Harrenhal, everybody's bitch. Do you want Harrenhal? Do you want Harrenhal? Do you want Harrenhal? Okay,
we're not there yet. All right, no, this is what I always said as, all right, yes, you could say Littlefinger, Lysa Arryn, or pushing Bran out the window.
Yeah.
I know. But Catelyn creates the first official act of war there because she walked around and she said, "Oh, you Banner people.
She called her Banner.
You are loyal to House Tully. Oh, you are loyal to House Stark." She literally called the Banners and said, "Arrest this man for murder." Like, that was the first official act of war.
And we get our brand new favorite character who is still alive, still going, still in our hearts. Who doesn't love fucking Bron? Bron is king of everything at the end.
To
I'm
close
cool
out
with
this
it.
episode, we've got 2 minutes left. Do we want to make the last
episode? We're going to go over.
We're totally over.
We're already over.
Excellent. So episode 5.
Which is...
The Wolf and the Lion.
The Wolf and the Lion.
So wait a minute.
Foreshadowed in the very first episode as having killed each other.
So wait, so we have one episode, she kidnaps Tyrion. Next
Lion.
episode, we are in full-blown war.
Oh, sorry.
It takes one episode to start going
Well, no,
to war.
because the moment they got word that Tyrion was
Notice our volume
arrested,
has gone
Tywin
up
goes to
from
call his
episode 1 to
banners.
episode 5.
Sorry, what?
Tywin hasn't called his banners yet, though.
Okay, well, not yet, but
We haven't even
I
met
think
Tywin.
the second that Jaime runs out of the city
That's
after
when
he
the banners are
attacks.
called.
oh my
I
god,
think
that
that's when
was
he
worse.
calls
That
Tywin.
fight was brutal. Like how the episode ends with Jaime just coming down and he's all like, "Take him alive, kill the rest of his men."
But we see
It's
a
literally the
moment
only
of-
fight they could budget into season 1.
Yeah.
That's it.
But-
that one fight.
But we do see a moment of Jaime's arc, I think going back to Andrew's arc, of he's in this like awesome like sword battle and then one of his people stabs him
through
calf,
the leg.
and you see Jaime be
Jaime's
like,
like,
"The fuck?"
It's like, man, I have this. Like, Jaime wasn't going to kill him.
But also, you had
Or-
this feeling,
or
or he
Jaime,
was,
really.
but you had this feeling of
No,
Jaime.
his brother would have died if he
Jaime
killed
is
Ned.
smart enough to not kill Ned. He was just trying to provoke him.
Yeah.
I do have one thing.
Oh, I have a question. Before, can I just ask my
yeah.
question?
Well,
Well,
I can't remember what I was going to say anyway, so.
remember, I'm confused. I thought that Jaime captured Ned then, but he didn't.
No,
Yeah,
he
then they
takes
also
off
walk
because the
away.
city guard is
I
coming.
felt like that was really weird. It's like
That
they
was
take
weird.
him,
It's
but
'cause-
then they didn't. The Lannisters didn't take him.
Because Littlefinger said, "I'm going to get the city
I'm
guard."
going to get the city guard, but really
Right,
he
but
probably
Ned
just
could've
ran
just
around the
out.
corner. It was in there
He was gonna
watching
get
and
city
giggling
guard.
at the
Come
chaos he's creating.
Just to
I mean,
break
at
the whole
that
thing
moment,
up.
you
Very
would
true.
think he was getting it for Ned.
But technically, like, Jamie attacked Ned in the square. Ned didn't attack Jamie.
Yeah.
So Jamie was in the wrong in that. And
Oh,
that's
they
the hand of
killed
the
Jory.
king. And
They
Jory.
did.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
that's
I
nice guy.
agree with Kate. It was a weird moment. Like,
Um,
they said, take him, kill his men. They kill his men, and then they leave him in the street.
And they're like, yeah, stab him in the knife fight. Stab him. All right, bye.
Or maybe they realized, well, he's not going anywhere now.
I want to point out, during that particular fight, you see Jamie fight, and he's got his one hand. He points Stark down with his sword hand. Also, in this episode, Arya has already begun her dancing lessons.
Wait,
With the first
wait,
sword of
episodes
Bravos.
ago.
Hold on, can
No,
I
but
just
Arya's
go?
begun her things, and her dancing master makes a point of, that's not your sword hand. I mean, the point of, you hold your sword with
It is
your
part of your
hand.
arm. Can you drop what is part of your arm?
Can you drop? Yeah, I mean, the emphasis on...
Is this
Be
also
careful,
the-
very
when we
small,
get that
because
moment
she had
of-
a one-handed sword. Jamie does
She
not.
starts
Yeah.
in episode 3.
I mean, that's what he was
One
referring to.
really quick thing about Jamie in that scene is I think it proves, and this is something that they show us from the very beginning, the very first scene between Jamie and Cersei, and leading all the way to Jamie using a lance to face down a dragon in season 7. Jamie is brave. He was only ever brave. That is his redeeming quality, his love and his bravery. He is both a loving person and a brave person. I think that's really interesting because we're watching this whole season going, this guy's a fucking dick. But really, he is brave. He wants to face Ned Stark. He rides against the dragon, against Dany. He is, the first scene between him and Cersei is, oh, you jumped off a 100-foot cliff and you weren't even afraid.
Is it a reckless bravery, do we think?
I think it's a bravery supported by love. He is brave for love, and it's really interesting that we hate him so much when really he is brave.
Good.
Or the vagina, that's fine
That's
too.
true. He kills the king.
He kills the
because
king
of-
He
because
kills the
it's
king.
for... Okay. Alright, so do we want to...
He's a good man who's conflicted.
Do we want to wrap up...
Well, go ahead. I have some things, about this
Go,
episode.
Andrew, go.
Yeah,
Just quick highlights. Round 1, Hound versus the Mountain.
Yes, Clegane Bowl! Clegane Bowl!
I also love that
Just
moment
stylish,
of...
duck right as it's coming.
We see the difference between them because that was not a duck. That was the
Kneel
king
to your
asked
king.
me to stop, and I
Yes.
stopped, and it just happened to.
But the
be-
mountain didn't.
The mountain didn't, and he stormed off, and that could have ended. That could have ended with the hound dying.
No, it could have ended with the mountain dying as well. He could have had his head chopped off by the king. For
Well,
nothing.
but
Edward,
also,
the mountain is a
didn't
whiny
stop
little
him,
bitch
so-
you can't stand
Yeah,
losing.
that's
True.
I also, this is one of the, times where Tyrion does something that should give him, good marks and doesn't. He saves Kate. And
Yes,
still,
yeah.
He
and
saves
still,
Cat.
Fight with the mountain, yeah.
And then when
Give me
But
10
also, what I didn't
good men, I'll
notice, I
impregnate
didn't
the bitch.
notice the first time I watched that, like, he was looking to escape.
yes, he was.
I did not notice that as much.
Oh,
where
yeah.
he was like,
He looked
I
at
need,
the
I need to
horses.
go to the horses. I need to go to the horses. And then she started to
But
get attacked,
Honor
and he was like,
This is what
"Fuck, I
keeps
gotta
him
save
there. I gotta
Catelyn."
save
Like,
her. I can't leave her to die. So Bran, I don't know. First of all, if anyone knows that Bran is playing with a Tully pin.
yes, he is.
Oh, I didn't see that.
He's
Fish pin.
reciting the words.
And
they
he
make
gets
a
so
big
mad about
deal.
family,
They
honor,
make
and
a big
duty.
deal about family, duty, honor. They say it 3 times.
Well, because he's like, and he even specifies like family, duty, honor. Did I get the
Did I get
order
the words
wrong?
right? Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
order right.
because
Whatever.
family should be first. Why did she?
I kind of
leave?
phase out during most of Bran's scenes.
I
so.
don't.
No,
I
I'm
admit,
very
I was
into brand
fantasy
scenes
out.
now.
And
I
they
got this
also
really
Now
good
that we
game.
know they're actually going
They're actually
somewhere.
important.
Well, and maybe because I had to go look them up because I couldn't remember anything about Lannister always pays his debts. They avoid actually saying the Lannister words because I guess the real
Which
Lannister
are,
words
"Hear
are
me
kinda,
roar."
Hear me roar. Boring.
Boring.
Growing strong.
And they make a big deal, and they
Ours is the
about
fury.
Bran shooting an arrow, and the Dothraki boys do it from a horse. It's like I wonder if that will ever. They make such a big. Will there be a point?
Bran never extended beyond that. Like he's the three-eyed raven. He's not even
never
Bran
gonna be
anymore.
a warrior.
I will, but will he ever shoot an arrow though?
No.
I think a lot of.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
That has
It
nothing
could
to
be.
do
Yeah,
with
we've got
anything.
spiders the size of
All I'm
hounds
saying
coming.
is they spent a lot of time in that moment.
Yeah,
to
you're right.
having to just be pissed away.
Well, but I think
in
part
what
of that
moment?
is just like
The moment
giving.
between him and what's his face about.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, the Dothraki.
Wait,
Well-
no, stop.
good.
What's his face?
Master Lewin.
Master Lewin, thank
Maester
you.
Master Lewin.
Maester.
Maester Lewin, and they go, oh, well, I'll never do this, I'll never do that. It's
But
like,
I
the
think-
Dothraki, they learned to shoot from a horse.
I think part of that is the Tyrion
You're
thing.
thinking
Yeah.
too much into that.
No. I think it is giving him the strength of your strength is not you will be a fighter, but that does not mean you have nothing to contribute.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
even telling him like you can ride a horse,
Travis,
you
can
can
you get
fight
me
from
beer?
there,
Where
like
are they?
that
In
tells
the
him
fridge.
that
Oh, I
he
wanted
has
a
a
bottle.
strength and it's not the strength he thought it was
I just wanna shine
originally,
it.
but that gives him the idea that he can still have
Yeah.
a strength
Yeah,
that's
it's
not.
You will never walk, but you will
In
fly.
terms of storytelling, they spent a lot of time
Can
on
we
that.
turn the
And
fan
it's,
back on?
so,
Hey Travis, can you turn the fan back on?
at one point I did write down 3 times,
By the
boy,
Christmas tree.
This one?
To
Christmas
who?
tree.
This one.
Well, because like
To Jon?
multiple times in that episode, they call Arya a
A
boy.
boy.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
I'm
Um,
a girl.
I have one thing that I'd like to say. I don't know if it's necessarily related to this episode, but it is related to episode 2. We've all been talking about the reunions that are just about to happen, probably in the first episode of season 8. And I think I am the only one that is really excited about this, but I have been shipping Sansa and the Hound since like season 3.
Oh.
No, for sure
Well, the
season
book
2.
comes with
What?
that, too.
Wait,
Season
how are
2?
you shipping them?
Look,
Yes.
get on
What does
Archive
that
of Our
mean?
Own.
You
You'll
want to
see
see
what
them
you're talking about.
fuck? Is that what you're
So
saying?
much. I want them to end up together.
This is coming
forever.
from the woman who, oh, that's molestation. Oh, that's
Forever.
statutory
I want them
rape.
to be
I'm
together
sorry.
forever.
No.
So
Why?
I am
No.
really
Sansa's
excited.
Why?
Well, there are also scenes in the books that really help feed that.
I am
Yeah.
really excited
I agree.
about
I mean,
a
I don't
Sansa
agree,
and
but I
Hound
understand.
Yeah.
She was so
reunion.
offended by watching Ramsay and Sansa have sex, but you're
Yeah,
willing to see
but
the Hound.
that's his little bird.
Okay.
Well,
Okay,
I mean,
that's
yes,
his
you know,
little
it-
bird.
Honestly,
Okay.
honestly,
What?
going to Sansa
We've
getting
devolved.
the Hound.
He did
because-
fuck her when she was
Yeah.
Alright,
underage.
stop,
Because
stop,
Sansa's
Alright,
13,
stop,
14,
stop.
maybe 16
stop,
now
Okay.
in the story.
Okay.
stop.
All right,
Listen
so
to podcasts
I have
everywhere these days.
Oh, yeah.
I have
Rest in peace,
three.
headphone users.
I have 3 major plays to mention before we wrap this up.
Cause God,
So
we gotta wrap
one,
this up.
Varys' big play is that
Ariel.
he's working directly with Illyrio on
Yes.
with
Yeah.
and Dany and
Varys,
Yeah,
Varys
or-
is playing
Well,
the game.
maybe
this is
Viserys,
in
but
the-
then
This is in the wait. Hold. This is in the. All right. Who is currently playing the game the best? This is how I wanted to wrap it up.
All right.
Who's
well,
playing the
okay,
game the best?
So, but let me just say these 3 points, and they'll lead
That-
right into they'll lead
That's
right into
into
that.
the point I'm saying.
Well, but okay. But
Eventually the
also,
point will come out.
Varys and Baelish have a great head-to-head. You know, and it's like
They do.
I wrote
Yeah.
down that Varys doesn't need balls to measure his dick against Baelish.
Really doesn't.
Nice.
No.
And finally, I found it interesting that Varys kind of plays against Dany in the council, you know, to kind of
Yes.
keep his cover, basically.
Yeah.
But
Also, unrelated to anything, episode 5 is the first episode where we get a different setting. Because
What do
I
you
have
mean?
the opening credits every time. It's been King's Landing, Winterfell, the Wall, Vias Dothrak, and then we get the
No,
Eyrie. And we get Pentos. But it's like been 4.
Vias Dothrak was the first new setting that came in episode 2.
But this is the first time we get like a 5th one. Like now we know that we can add. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm just saying. It's exciting.
Well, very good
She's
point. What
excited.
Andrew mentioned, you know, I mean, Varys is still playing his cards because it's mentioned later on in the series. Varys still didn't know whether or not Dany was worth following.
But he's not following Dany right now. Right
No,
now,
no.
he's following Varys.
He's
His plot
following
is
the
for
dragon.
Varys.
He's following the
Viserys.
Targaryen.
No, sorry,
name.
Viserys. Sorry.
Yeah,
He's
I
there
mean,
for Viserys.
He's just playing the long game, but he still doesn't officially decide, you know, it's Dany, it's Viserys, it's Dany, it's Viserys.
I think
you know,
he
he's-
keeps up on the
he's
Targaryens
putting
when
his eggs in
Viserys
the
dies.
Targaryen basket.
I don't
Yeah.
think he continues to support Dany. I think he had his money on Viserys, and then when he dies, he's like, "Well, I'm done with that shit. Gonna stick to what's going on in
Well,
Westeros."
no, because he's the one who sends Tyrion out there. So,
Yeah, but that's many seasons later.
well, okay.
I don't feel like now, once Viserys dies, I don't think he immediately switches over to Dany. I think Dany does a whole bunch of shit first, and then he's like, oh, this lady's conquering. Okay. You know? So, I think his plans die when Viserys dies.
I think...
No.
I don't know. Well, I will have to see.
Okay, so
go to Mark's final wrap.
All right, so my thing that I was trying to wrap it up with is who is currently playing the best game so far?
That's easy. It's
Littlefinger.
Littlefinger.
Yeah.
Okay, but we don't technically know that yet. So,
but we're watching it in retrospect, so we
I
can
know
all
we're
agree
watching
that
retrospect.
it's
So
a-
yes,
Absolutely,
Littlefinger, blah
Okay,
blah
all right,
blah.
time out.
Ignoring
Wait, time
Littlefinger.
In terms of what we know now, no one's playing the game.
No.
Cersei, I would
The person
say
who has
maybe.
the upper hand
Cersei
is
is gonna
because
kill
Baelish is
her.
the
I don't
first
know.
one to play the game because no one knows there's a game being
But
played.
I honestly,
Excuse me. Wait.
I
go ahead.
honestly think it is Littlefinger that's playing the game the best right now. Because at this point, him and Viserys have already talked. Arya sees them.
Varys.
That's what I'm saying.
Trying to kill Ned.
Viserys
so
is
at
playing
this
the best
point,
game because he's the only one who knows there's an actual game being played because he started it.
Right,
Yeah.
but
the whole thing with him
Oi!
and Ned, it's
Hold on,
just-
Walker's the
it's-
right
oh,
point.
it's
someone
so
we
weird.
haven't even mentioned them yet. There is a scene between Loras and Renly. Okay, I'm not saying they're the best at playing the game, but there is a scene where Loras is sitting
brings it
there
up.
convincing Renly, despite you being fourth in line, you should be king.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that's playing the game the best because that doesn't even work out for them.
But I mean,
I'm just trying to have discussions about who's
But
playing
yeah,
the
but
game.
We're all
Loras
discussing
does
it.
plant to see.
And you're shooting
Yeah.
down any
They're the only
character.
ones who even
Okay.
conceptualize the
Well,
game
then here,
yet.
let's talk about the people who are actually playing the game as of
Now.
episode 5. We've got Loras and Renly. They've entered the game for sure. We've got Cersei. She's definitely playing the game for herself, if not her children.
Robert doesn't
more
give a shit about
at
the
this point in
game.
the
Oi, but
Ned is
No, but
Mark, stop
just
yelling at people.
Ned
everyone
is a
keeps cutting
victim
me off.
of the game
Yeah.
so far, up
I
to
will
episode
agree
5.
with that, yeah.
Okay. Baelish, Peter, and
He's fucking playing
Varys.
the game.
Oh, I
started
know.
Both of those guys are playing the game.
and Viserys.
I'm playing a different
And
game.
Pycelle is playing
And
the game.
Pycelle is playing the game.
I think
Everybody on the
Baelish-
council is
I
playing
think
the game.
Baelish is the one who is making, like, we see him making the most moves. And I think we don't even know that he's, like, but he is, like,
He stops
he
his
is the
kid
one
fights
who is, like,
Catelyn.
and even to the point where is he the one who says, is he the one who takes Ned to see the baby?
Yes.
He's like,
Yes.
before
Yeah.
you leave,
Yeah.
come, I need you to see
Yeah.
one more thing.
Yeah.
So,
Before
like,
you get out of
he
or
is
out of,
making-
King's
yeah.
You
Landing,
can visibly
King's
see
Landing,
him
and save
making
yourself
Wait,
and your
so
family.
is that the reason why, like,
Stay
Jamie
back.
could even fight him? Is because Peter
Yeah.
got him into the brothel?
He
Oh,
keeps him there.
And actually-
He keeps
Yeah.
him there long enough.
Robert Baratheon doesn't care about the game.
Yeah,
the
he's-
only player he cares about. No, he does. The only player he cares about is Viserys and Dany.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Targaryens.
He will not let
He
that
wants
kid
all the
go.
Targaryens
Killer,
dead.
Killer.
Master
Yeah.
Illyrio is playing the
However-
game. Illyrio is playing the game like a motherfucker.
But he's with Viserys.
However,
Varys,
even
sorry.
though everyone right now is currently dismissing Robert's idea we should try to assassinate the Targaryens now, what do you think? Like, Cersei is probably currently where we are in the series. She's
Oh,
probably
yeah.
thinking, maybe we should have listened to Robert many years ago and killed them before she brought 3 dragons and a Dothraki horde
They
across
Andy
the
and
sea.
Sully.
They did listen to Robert.
Well,
they just failed.
Yeah, Jorah just turned on them because
Yeah.
they do attempt to murder her. It's just Jorah fixes it.
Maybe they should have gotten some a little more charismatic. Wait, no, we're not there yet. We'll talk about
Yeah.
it later.
Yeah. So, guys, this
The
wraps
assassin
up,
edition.
our talk back of episodes 1 through 5.
Our Scream Fest.
Tune back in next
Egos and
weekend.
tempers.
We're going to be
We'll announce
discussing
on Twitter and
episodes.
Facebook exactly when we're doing
Yes.
it.
Yes, we're going to be watching episodes 6 through 10 and finishing the first season and having some stuff. Please
All the
comment
feelings.
in the comment
All the
section your
feelings.
views, your opinions. Hopefully we can plan it with a little bit of time so that we can actually go over some of your comments for the next episode and maybe discuss those. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much it. If you're going to follow along with us, do make sure that you have watched the first entire season in completion.
No, make sure you've watched every season because there will be spoilers
Well, but
for
not before
every
next
season.
No.
Guys, please, at least.
We're not doing this for the
season.
people who haven't watched the show.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Just, watch the seasons. Jump in with our conversation tag along. Please comment. During this show that we're casting, and I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
We're gonna be posting a
Listen to him go.
replay,
Right?
sorry, a
Good.
replay
We're so
of
proud.
us watching the Golden Globes. So stay tuned for that. That'll be posted up, sometime later. You'll see a Twitter
We're not going
announcement
live.
posted by Audio.
I don't know
about
what's
that.
happening.
We're gonna go live.
Honestly, we
We're
don't
gonna
know.
go
Yeah.
straight from here
Anyway,
to Golden Globes.
No one's gonna watch a replay.
I think that's going to be it. Next week is going to be my last week in town. I'm going to be off
Oh.
sailing on the Big Blue Yonder, and this will be gone. I'll have no more beard. Ugh.
Are you not allowed to have facial hair on the boat?
All
I'm
right,
not allowed to have
not
facial
important to the
hair.
podcast.
Not
or
important
the
to the
live
podcast.
stream.
Yeah.
We are
So
the
he's
Knights
been
of the
defeated.
Drunk Watch.
And
And
now,
now
our talk
is
is
ended.
And now
ended.
my glass is empty.
Stop.
I have drank 2.5 beers during this conversation.
Ah.
Shit. Stop streaming.
This was fun.